that. And other sites came out from there.
Sure.
Locally, we've got Collective Endeavour,
Oh yeah.
who will sit down at conventions and talk with people about how to get their game made.
Yeah.
Like without it costing them the earth. Like go out there and make 50 copies and plan to sell none of them so that you're not worrying about stuff. Okay? And that idea that you're not having to put your shirt on the line, as it were, not having to mortgage a house. That's
So I mean, there's Collective Endeavour. There's story games. The story games. There's
Community.
what IPR.
yeah.
I mean,
well,
I guess they're part of that whole
well,
thing.
that's the thing. This is where the confusion comes in, because a lot of what Indie Press Revolution sell, does it actually fit the indie game?
I'm not sure actually. I'm
It
not
doesn't.
that familiar with IPR's business model.
I would say no, but they go for a style choice,
That's interesting.
I believe,
Okay.
as well as an independence choice.
And there's also like Cubicle 7. I suppose their role in like
Distribution.
commercializing, I suppose, a lot of indie games is it's difficult to shouldn't underestimate.
Well,
I guess.
I would say like Cubicle 7 and to maybe a slightly lesser extent Mongoose. I would say
I
to a less
suppose,
extent
okay.
because Mongoose have been basically been open to people's ideas, and if they think it will
Right.
sell, they'll print it, and they've got they pretty much have their own printing facilities.
What are the intellectual property thing though? I mean, does Mongoose not hold the rights to
Not
commercialise
always,
that?
no.
Right.
They've got I think Cthulhu Tech
Right.
was put out by a Mongoose imprint.
That's quite interesting. Okay.
I'd have to pull it down from my shelf over there
Sure.
and have a look at what
Okay.
they called. It's like black something.
Mhm.
I have a question. So, does anything else sort of does the indie game scene involve anything else new now than like say before the internet or whatever? Like, has the internet brought anything new to the indie game scene? I guess is what I'm asking.
Well,
I think a sense of community and coherency that probably wasn't there before.
and a sense of rage and
Yeah.
argument.
A lot of rage.
Internet rage.
But also, I mean, yeah, I guess finding other developers, connecting with your audience directly,
Mhm.
and also things like being able to access print-on-demand services really cheaply and easily. I think those three things are the three things that have been brought to the scene by the advent of the web, and also I think the three things that have enabled the current scene to develop. I think without any one of those, you wouldn't see anything like the kind of breadth or range of indie games that you have now.
Yeah, it seems that way. Just from what Keith was saying about the way they used to print games before and how difficult it was. So I suppose having that freedom, being able to kind of being able to sort of only print however many you need and not having to take out a second
Definitely, yeah,
mortgage.
Well, the other thing, the other way of doing it that I forgot to mention,
Mhm.
which seems daft now in retrospect, apart from just putting loads of money in and printing yourself and printing thousands of copies and having a deal with a distributor, the other way was to find a company that was already distributing stuff
Mhm.
and then sell your work to them.
Yeah.
Sure.
So you would go up to them and go, here you go. So that's pretty much...
As part of the
That's
same model, I mean,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
still
yeah.
essentially you find someone to bring your game to market
Yeah.
rather than doing it yourself.
Yeah,
So it's-
yeah.
Okay.
But you don't have to do that now.
What about this place? We really liked it. It was a good area. It was in our price range. Why don't we just go for it?
Yeah. What I think we're doing here is we're just putting out a definition.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess our definition.
Yeah.
But like,
Well,
Isn't
I mean, we don't
that what
even have a
happens?
forum.
yeah, we're popularising.
That's so not the word we want to use.
Popularising.
Popularizing. I mean, that is a word, but it's not what we're doing.
Okay, well we're
We have like 3 people watching.
hi, we love you. One of
You.
them's John behind the camera. the other
Creepy guy in the window.
Well, there's Sean. He'll be watching, and
Yeah.
Fiona will watch
That's-
just
okay.
to laugh. So there we go.
So it's fine.
It's fine. Anyway, I'm on track. Yeah, what when you're talking about what is a story game and what is a indie game and what is a weird system and what is Forge, like these things have to have some at least general consensus that can change and evolve.
Okay.
And it can be open to new things coming into it.
Sure.
But ultimately I think an indie game is a game that's made without having to have a full publishing company backing you. And a game that you're just going out there and putting out.
Okay.
There you go. At the end of the day, that's where I see an indie game. And an indie game could be using mechanics that are very traditional and very wargame-esque, or very much... It could be a book that thick, and it could be hardback, but if it's one guy making like 5 copies at a time, okay, and he's going out to conventions and selling them, or he's putting it on a website online, because we go right back to the fact that you can find your market. So that's where I see it.
Okay.
What do you think muddies the waters?
I think basically the popular use of the term to mean story game is what confuses people. Like people talk about indie versus trad as a sort of dichotomy.
Yeah.
But they're not. I mean, they're two. One describes a publishing model, and the other describes a style of game or a style of mechanics.
Yeah.
But even on places like story games, where the definition of what is indie, what is a story game, seems to be fairly well pinned down, we'll still talk about what is trad, the dichotomy between traditional and indie games.
Yeah.
And that strikes me as odd, and I think that does add to the confusion quite a lot.
Yes.
And then there's obviously the Forge thing of indie publishing and story games having become popular and gain focus at the same time in the same place, so people are just naturally mixing up the two sort of thing.
But I think there's what do you call it, the old school revival?
I think that's a separate thing. I think that's more recent than the Forge tendency.
No, that is. But this is what I'm saying. It follows the indie press model.
It does.
A lot of the time.
But it also follows it has the kind of same very intense focus that a lot of story games have. An old school game will generally focus on combat quite a lot and exploration quite a lot, to the exclusion of most other things.
Dungeon Bash,
yeah. So, not in a bad way. I mean, it's cool. But,
huzzah, we kill it.
It's something that... Yeah, I think there's definitely a continuity of theory there.
Dash is remembering something. She's having flashbacks.
Goblins, cat goblins. Yeah.
Kobolds, they're everywhere.
Explain yourself.
Thousands of them.
Basically, in the days of